I'm a counselor and a psychotherapist. And one of my favorite areas to work in is travel and holidays, because travel helps us discover more about ourselves and helps us discover more about our partners. And that is why so much research shows that couples return from holidays generally a lot happier, with a closer relationship, with greater sexual satisfaction, and a stronger sense of understanding each other. But so many things can derail us. And as a counselor, I hear about so many of the mishaps, the disasters that can happen, the misadventures on a holiday. And for some couples, this leads to problems that spiral out of control later. But for other couples, they become stronger because of it. And a lot of that strength happens when the couple's on the same page and they can feel that they are facing a challenge together and that they are facing an obstacle that is external to them, and it's not about the two of them competing or problem solving or trying to outdo each other. A lot of this, I feel, comes up from something as simple as travel anxiety. And I've spent a couple of videos talking a bit about travel anxiety because it might not feel like what you think it should feel like. It might not show up in your life the way you expect travel anxiety to show up. It's not all about people who are scared of flying or who are anxious about culture shock. It can be all the thousands of tiny moments in a journey that can push all of our buttons, that can trigger us for so many different reasons. Now, in my last video, I spoke about how interpersonal neurobiology teaches that if we can name an emotion, we can reduce its impact on us, often by up to 50%. So if we're able to tag a group of feelings that we never really paid attention to before, but which seem to get us in a bad mood, and which seem to get a holiday off on the wrong footing, and we can identify that as travel anxiety, we're in a much better position to navigate, minimize, and address those feelings so they don't bring a toxic cocktail into our holiday. But how can we actually address the stresses itself? So on the one hand, it's knowing that it's a travel anxiety, but what can we do when we know what it is to try to minimize some of that stress? I've spoken a bit about tactics like structuring your work life, structuring your workload at the office. And this tip today is a really simple, short one. And it starts off by maybe painting a picture. If you're one of those guys who feels you are a hyper-performing super machine at the office, and you send that huge project off on the Friday before your holiday, maybe you deliver your big town hall meeting on the Friday before your holiday, maybe you finalize that report, wrap things up on the Friday before your holiday, and regardless, you were triumphantly in the taxi on the way to the airport. And when you get to the airport, you're that guy who has to tell everyone, excuse me for 2 minutes, my phone is going through the x-ray machine. You don't stop any of your conference calls from the office to the airport. And then as the airplane's about to take off and the air hostess says, put away your mobile devices, you quickly punch out your out of office message. Does that sound maybe familiar to you? Because for a lot of men, that sounds like success. And we live in a very performance-driven, metric-driven society where every minute matters. And a lot of people aspire to be like this. The problem is, if you've ever tried it, is that you might turn to your wife or your girlfriend on that flight and say, well, hey, we're on our holiday. And you are met with a cold glare. And men don't understand what's just happened. They're in holiday mode, or they want to be, but somehow it's off on the wrong footing already. If you flip it around and imagine that you're in your partner's shoes, she very likely has done more thinking and planning for day one of the holiday than you if you've just stepped away from an epic work week. She has been ready, she met you at the airport, but she didn't really meet you at the airport because you weren't physically there. You were on your phone the whole time. All of a sudden, just like that, you're in the picture and you expect her to quickly transition into holiday mode. It's tough for her, and it's going to be even tougher for you. Your brain just can't make that adjustment so quickly. And often I've heard clients tell me, hey, I don't need my brain to be quick. I've got an 8-hour flight. Well, that might be true. But for your partner who's sitting next to you, that trip started when you met at the airport. And your first impressions for that trip are not very positive. Unless you've managed to build a relationship where you have a fantastically collaborative way of doing joint conference calls, passing the laptop in between each other, and it's a bit of a joke between the two of you, and you're both on the same page. There's a very high chance you're not on the same page, and she's feeling that the holiday's beginning with her being neglected. This comes up so often. So that's her side of the story. For your side of the story, frankly, our brains just aren't that good at buffering from one thing to the other. Now, I spoke before about stress, how there's good stress and bad stress. A lot of people have never even heard the phrase good stress, or its technical term, which is eustress, from the Greek for euphoria. The good stress that can motivate us, that can inspire athletes to do better, or for us to feel motivated to get a promotion. Or eagerly anticipate a holiday. That's a good stress too. But it's still a stress, and our brain is not so good at moving from deadlines, emails, project reports stress to holiday stress. And we don't want it to flow from one to the other. You don't want to be that antsy, demanding, jacked up, I'm not sure what you're like at the office under stress, but that's probably not the person that your wife or girlfriend wants to sit next to as she's counting down to arriving on the holiday. So schedule yourself a little bit more time, and often if you're in a long-term relationship, it can involve having a bit of a ritual between the two of you for how you handle the wrap-up of from work to the airport. Because let's face it, often things are time pressed and we need to go straight from the office to the airport for a holiday. But having a bit of a ritual, a bit of a conversation, a bit of a handshake, even if it's as simple as saying to each other, we've arrived, we're on our way to the holiday, the phone is away, and I'm done, I'm 100% yours now. Whatever it takes to make that transition. For a lot of couples, it could be a celebratory cocktail on the aeroplane to mark, okay, we escaped the office and we're on our way to the holiday. As with everything I talk about, you might not have a strong answer for this in your head right away, but that's a good thing because it's a chance to talk to your partner, learn more about them, and in the process, you'll learn more about yourself. And you don't have to wait until you go on a holiday to learn so much about your partner. Getting ready for a holiday, trying to get yourself in the right headspace for it, is a great opportunity to make that discovery long before you check into your hotel room. Stay tuned. Please subscribe for more practical psychology tips to help you have the better conversations, to have a better connection, so that you can have the best adventures the next time you travel.